My neighbor died the other day. And of course, people handle death in their own and sometimes weird ways, but the way that I learned about his passing is still a little interesting to me. I was working in the backyard on a Saturday morning a couple of weeks ago, and I noticed her doing the same next door. After a bit of just doing our own thing, she called out to ask how we were enjoying the pool. I kindly replied that we loved it and slowly migrated toward the fence, keeping up some small talk about the upkeep and other plans we have to make the yard less ugly someday. And then she hit me with it. My husband died last night. So if you see any cars here that aren't normal, it's probably related to that. Hey guys, I'm Christian. Welcome to episode 20 of I Have No Idea What I'm Doing, where we don't always talk about death, but man, that one caught me by surprise. I tried to console her the best I could over a chain link fence full of grapevines, but that's definitely not a conversation you're prepared for, especially when she's so nonchalant about it. So many questions. And I still don't know a whole lot, but I understand that it was a heart attack in his sleep, and that her adult son lives with him, so she still has someone to depend on. And he wasn't all that old, late 60s I would guess. I have the privilege of taking my boys to school most days. It's something I really enjoy, and I'm already dreading the days when they don't want me to do it anymore. We don't do the car line, A, because the car line might be the fourth worst place on the planet, and B, we actually park away from the school and we walk up to the doors each morning. It's a short drive. There's about an 8-minute window of time where I can get their full attention. I get to encourage them to work hard, to be leaders, to remind them of schedule-related things going on, to tell them I love them and I'm proud of them, and I get to ask them every day to C and B. And I'm not honestly sure if C and B is something I came up with on my own or if I heard it somewhere, but I've been asking them to do it for close to 3 years now. And what I'm asking them to do in shorthand form each morning is to look for opportunities to see Jesus in others and to be Jesus for others. It's not an easy task, though it shouldn't be all that hard a one either. I hope it helps them remember that even in the mundane, there are ways to affect, help, and love others, as well as notice when others are doing the same. And of course, one of my favorite quotes is by Mr. Rogers when he once said, "When I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, 'Look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping.'" And maybe that's where my C and B stems from. Asking them to C and B each day, hopefully, with an easily memorable statement, reinforces my desire for them to understand that they're called for greater good. But then again, how do we even know it's working? Sunday night, my wife hosted about 14 other women in our home for a game called pokeno. And I have absolutely no idea what pokeno is. I'm pretty sure it's a way to get a dozen or so women in the same room to plan an overthrow of a government of a small country, or it's a front for a fantasy football league that they don't want their husbands to know about. Either way, her hosting saved me from having to watch the end of the awful Dallas Cowboys Week 1 football game. If you watched, you know what I'm talking about. So without too much to do, the boys and I set out Sunday evening to goof off as the military coup was being planned. For dinner, of course, we ended up at Whataburger because I'm pretty sure my boys are convinced that there are no other restaurants in the entire world besides Whataburger. Yeah, can I get 3 number ones with cheese, plain and dry? Yep, thank you. About halfway through our dinner, a man entered and sat down at a table all by himself without ordering. He didn't look too out of sorts, nor did he look to bother anybody. The employees didn't seem to take notice. I watched him out of the corner of my eye as we continued to eat. After about 10 minutes or so, he quietly got up and walked out the same door he came in. He didn't order or he didn't eat, and it hit me. He couldn't have without help. I quickly got up and told my boys to stay put, and I followed him out and asked him if I could buy him dinner. He agreed and followed me back in. And I got Eddie a chicken sandwich and some onion rings, and we wished him well, and then the boys and I packed up to go. And I don't tell you that story to show you I'm a great person. I'm not. Most of you would have done the same if you were in my shoes. Eddie needed food, and you would have fed him, I have no doubt. I tell you that story because it helped reinforce a lesson for me this week. I've been asking my boys to C and B for going on 3 years now. And sometimes I wonder if they just roll their eyes and don't internalize it much anymore. We don't always get to see the fruits of our labor. Well, on Monday, I picked the boys up from school, and one of the tasks on my list was to get the lawn mowed. I mentioned to them, and my oldest jumped at the chance to help. And that's not surprising in itself, because he just started learning how, and he's still in that honeymoon phase where running the mower is fun. He'll learn. I obliged, and I got him set up and going, and I handled the weed eating and edging duties while he did laps around the front yard with the mower. As he was finishing up, I was sweeping the sidewalk and I went over to check on him. And as I got close, he stopped and let the mower die for a moment, and he asked me a simple, yet profound question, and one that I probably won't soon forget. Dad, can I mow her yard too? You see, my 10-year-old got it. No, he gets it. He knows about her husband's passing and that the husband was the one who mowed their yard. He knows that almost every day for the last 3 years, his dad asked him to see him be. He knows that his dad does his best to model seeing him being whenever he can remember to get out of his own way. And he knows that when things are scary, or bad things or sad things happen, there's got to be helpers. So on those days that I don't remember what it's really all about, who I'm supposed to be, what I'm supposed to model, how I'm supposed to act, I have to remember that playing the long game actually does pay off. Sometimes it takes 3 years. Sometimes it takes longer. But it does pay off. Are you playing the long game? Do you speak, teach, and model the types of things you want to see in others? Maybe Aesop wasn't too crazy. Slow and steady can still win a race. Until next time.